Some rappers change flows, others change names, voices, and entire realities. Hip-hop has a long history of alter egos. Kool Keith became a gynecologist from Jupiter. Tupac warned the world as Makaveli, then died before the album dropped. Eminem let Slim Shady loose and never fully got him back. RZA split into the Abbott and Bobby Digital to teach, scheme, and self-destruct. Today, the tradition lives on. Tyler, the Creator, created a cast of characters to scream through. Kendrick Lamar turned it into a Pulitzer Prize. YNW Melly claimed his split was real. 2 people in one body, one of them now on trial for a double homicide. These are rap's wildest alter egos. Artists have been inventing alter egos for centuries: gods, devils, doubles, and masks. In modern hip-hop, many point to Kool Keith's Dr. Octagon as the first legit alter ego. There were others before, like Slick Rick's MC Ricky D and KRS-One's The Teacher, but Kool Keith took it to a whole new level. In 1996, he introduced Dr. Octagon, a time-traveling Jupiter-born surgeon with alien fetishes and a medical degree in horror. It's amazing. The character first appeared on Dr. Octagon, an album full of malfunctioning hospitals, grotesque body parts, and intergalactic sex procedures.
Dr. Octagon, paramedic fetus of the East with the strikes of force, scalpel since the Holocaust.
Keith delivered it all in a surreal monotone, backed by Dan the Automator's dystopian funk production and DJ Q-Bert's scratching. Octagon performed surgeries with broken tools and treated patients with moose heads. The lyrics ignored human logic. The storylines spiraled out into wormholes and mental wards. Keith built the entire narrative and character, staying locked inside Octagon's universe.
When I was a kid, I came home and watched a lot of Lost in Space.
Warning, extraterrestrial life form approaching.
Star Trek, the old original Star Trek.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Chiller movies like Chiller, remember that? A lot of that, Creature Feature. So all that stuff is collaged into my whole mindset.
The album became an underground landmark, not just for its creativity, but for its commitment to total madness. Keith would later try to kill the character off, only to bring him back again. Octagon never really dies. He just reappears somewhere stranger.
Dr. Octagon taught me, I had a green light to do something different in everything, and it turned rock, pop, alternative, rap, and all that. So, I was the first artist probably besides Run DMC to collaborate and feel to do, alternate projects, not to say alternative.
Fans followed the character across years of Keith's output, even when the chronology made no sense. He busted out other alter egos too, like Black Elvis. According to Keith himself, it was either because he was working on so many different projects with different artists, or because that's where the beats took him.
It helps me balance a lot of the work I do. I mean, I do so much work, even with groups and friends and stuff like that. But even on top of that, I got a lot of work with different people. Sometimes they're soft, sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're jobs, sometimes they're radical. It's a challenge for me to write to all different kinds of beats.
The point wasn't continuity. The point was imagination with no ceiling. Dr. Octagon wasn't a gimmick. He was a permanent resident in Kool Keith's head, leaking out through microphones, mixtapes, and whatever dimension he happened to be operating in that day. While Keith turned to science fiction and absurdity, Tupac created Makaveli to speak from the edge of death and war. Tupac created Makaveli while serving time at Clinton Correctional Facility in 1995. He read The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli and began reshaping his identity.
The prodigal son has returned. I'm alive. The ghost is walking around. You know what I mean? And I'm alive talking. In jail, I didn't talk.
The name Makaveli first appeared publicly on the Don Killuminati, The 7-Day Theory, recorded in August 1996 and released 2 months after his death. The lyrics grew colder, more apocalyptic, some would say prophetic. Allow me to introduce first Makaveli the Don Hysterical, spiritual lyrics like the Holy Quran. Catch me, Makaveli while he's sleeping. It would help lead to some of the Tupac conspiracies we know so well. Conspiracies about him never dying and all that. Brotha's getting shot, coming back resurrected. He recorded the album in 7 days. The tone was paranoid, filled with premonitions of betrayal, assassination, and spiritual warfare. He called out enemies by name. He sounded like he had already crossed over. The production was stripped down, often grimy and menacing. The cover showed Tupac crucified on a cross. The album booklet credited Makaveli, not Tupac. Fans studied the lyrics for hidden meanings, secret messages, and predictions. Theories spread that he had faked his death. Makaveli encouraged them. The persona blurred into real life. Suge Knight pushed the mystique further. Death Row marketed the album as Tupac's final testament. Makaveli became a symbol of posthumous power, martyrdom, and coded rebellion. The name kept showing up: graffiti tags, mixtapes, unreleased tracks. It turned into a symbol. Tupac gave it form, then vanished, leaving the rest behind for listeners to decode.
I don't even know all the names that I've embodied over the years. Look, you know the RZA, that embodies all of it, but of course I started MCing as Prince Rakeem, as far as when I first signed my first record deal. I'm known as the scientist because, you know, when I was in hip hop growing through the streets of New York battling MCs, I was known as the scientist. I have rhymes that describe traveling from a sperm cell, meeting the egg, you know what I mean? Of course, Bobby Digital, you know what I mean? That came after the RZA.
Tupac turned Machiavellian philosophy into prophecy and paranoia. RZA turned kung fu, mysticism, and comic book codes into a hierarchy of alter egos. RZA built an entire spiritual and sonic framework around his alter egos. As the RZA, he served as the architect behind Wu-Tang Clan's sound, layering kung fu samples, soul loops, and Eastern philosophy into a code of war and wisdom. As the Abbot, he took on the role of teacher and strategist, delivering 5% nation knowledge and defining Wu-Tang's internal structure. He had Bobby Digital, introduced in 1998 as a masked, futuristic alter ego with a warped voice and a taste for sci-fi chaos. RZA described the character by saying, "As Bobby Digital, I could use a character to describe some of the earlier days of my own life. Partying, bullshitting, going crazy, chasing women, taking drugs. It was a mixture of fiction and reality together to make a character I thought would be entertaining." Bobby Digital let RZA lean into decadence, escapism, and surreal storytelling without touching the discipline of his other identities. Each persona served a distinct function: one for creation, one for order, one for release. Then there was the Abbot, a teacher and strategist who delivered 5% nation's knowledge and defined Wu-Tang's internal structure.
But my favorite is the Abbot. And the reason why is because I know that sometimes, you know, it takes somebody to be the most sensible or the most knowledgeable person in the cipher. And that's what an Abbot duty is to be.
Together, they let RZA move between dimensions, from Shaolin temples to Brooklyn basements to digital dystopias.
Hi, my name is Slim Shady. We know who you are, bro.
RZA organized his alter egos into a code. Eminem let Slim Shady run wild with no rules. Slim Shady was born in 1997 on the Slim Shady EP, a low-budget, high-velocity project filled with drugs, violence, and cartoon death. But it wasn't his first alter ego.
My first alias was Billy the Kid, and it was on some like gunslinging type shit.
Eminem used the name to vent rage, shock, and absurdity. The character escalated on the Slim Shady LP in 1999, launching Eminem into stardom.
My name is what? Excuse me.
Shady ended the life of his boss, overdosed in public, and fantasized about celebrities in unprintable ways. He spoke in erratic rhyme schemes and slipped in and out of different voices. The production twisted around his chaos, bass-heavy, lo-fi, and unstable. Shady wasn't introduced with backstory. He appeared fully formed, already committing crimes in verse. As the albums continued, Shady grew more aggressive. The Marshall Mathers LP made him louder, darker, and more controversial. He dissed entire communities. He dragged listeners into abusive relationships and reenacted homicides in graphic detail. Critics protested. Fans memorized every bar. The persona helped Eminem confront his upbringing, addiction, and public scrutiny without breaking character.
What's your response to the people that act or react negative toward, that find your lyrics offensive?
My response is, them. They don't know what it's like to grow up poor with a single parent, you know what I'm saying, raised by a mother. It was a single parent, you know, on welfare all your fucking life.
Even at award shows, Shady stayed alive. He returned in The Eminem Show, vanished for stretches, then reappeared in Relapse and Kamikaze. The voice got older, but the energy stayed manic. Shady never needed permission. He forced himself into the room, laughed at the outrage, and wrote the next track in blood.
With that said, I like to dress. It's fun.
Yeah.
Goblin is the ski mask. Wolf was the camp. Then Cherry Bomb, I had the pink face thing, and like I always loved that. All my videos, I'm bald one scene. Like I don't know, that's really fun.
Eminem sharpened a single voice into a weapon. Tyler scattered his across aliases that spoke in distortion, humor, and rage. He's gone by a bunch of names: Ace, Goblin, Flower Boy, Igor, Tyler Baudelaire. But Wolf Haley might be his darkest and most sinister. Tyler introduced Wolf Haley in the early 2010s as a reckless, loud-mouthed presence inside his head. The character appeared in early Odd Future videos, lyrics, and skits, always pushing Tyler toward chaos. On Yonkers, from his 2011 album Goblin, Wolf Haley delivered threats with a calm stare and deadpan rage.
Airplane at that faggot Bob is in and stab Bruno Mars in his goddamn esophagus.
The track before that, the intro track on Goblin, is Tyler talking to who he calls Doctor, TC. TC is short for Tyler's Conscious, a therapist trying to give him advice.
What you need is me, someone to talk to. It's been a while since our last session, so tell me what's been going on.
I'm not a role model.
I know this.
I'm a 19-year-old emotional coaster.
Tyler described him as the one who said things he couldn't. The early albums, Bastard, Goblin, Wolf, revolved around this voice, along with others like Thurnis Haley and Ace. These characters built a loose storyline involving therapy sessions, missing fathers, and staged murders. Wolf Haley became the loudest and most consistent. Tyler kept him in rotation through interviews and stage performances. The persona allowed him to be meaner, funnier, and more vulgar without explanation. Fans could trace the timeline across albums like a surreal diary. Over time, the aggression cooled, but the character never fully left. Tyler didn't need a mask. He used tone, costume, and distortion. The anger, joy, and ego moved through each project like chapters in a fractured novel. Wolf Haley still lingers in the shadows of Tyler's work. He's not gone. He's waiting backstage in a pink balaclava and golf shoes, ready to talk trash again the second the music shifts.
Whew. Nah, Melvin. Can't say too much.
Tyler turned his voices into characters and skits. YNW Melly swore his were real and said one of them pulled the trigger. Melly introduced the world to Melvin days before his arrest for a double homicide. He described Melvin not as an alter ego, but as a separate person. Melly claimed to have 6 different personalities and said Melvin was the dark one he only lets out at night.
Loving, genuine, turned up, happy, and just loving, you know what I'm saying? Michael Jackson. Melly is Michael Jackson. Literally, Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying? But he's still thugging it, still street, but he, to an extent, he know how to control his anger in himself. But Melvin, I only let him out at nighttime. And I need to stop doing it.
The two recorded an album together, according to Melly, but he delayed its release. During interviews, friends recognized when Melvin took over. His mood would shift and his laughter would sharpen. Melly credited Melvin with helping him stay safe. Before the charges, Melly's song, Murder on My Mind, gained national attention and peaked after his arrest. He wrote the lyrics while in jail, tapping out the beat on his chest. After his release, he recorded it in full and shared it online. Melly's rise happened fast. His style blended raw melody, pain, and unpredictable energy. He kept hundreds of unreleased songs on deck and said he had plans for every detail of his career. After being charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, fans returned to his lyrics, searching for clues. The confusion between art and reality intensified. Melvin be getting into Melly, a friend said, trying to make sense of it. In jail, Melly waits. Melvin remains unbothered. Melly's split reality played out in courtrooms and tracks. Kendrick Lamar turned his into layered albums that folded in on themselves. Kendrick's built a career through different characters, internal voices, and spiritual conflicts. On Good Kid, Mad City, he positioned himself as the narrator of a coming-of-age story told through voicemails, peer pressure, and drive-by prayers. On To Pimp a Butterfly, he introduced Lucy, a voice of temptation speaking through contracts and seduction. He spoke to Tupac in a posthumous interview.
They might eat the rich. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so let me ask you this then. Do you see yourself as somebody that's rich or somebody that made the best of their own opportunities?
I see myself as a natural-born hustler, a true hustler.
On Damn, Kendrick's Pulitzer Prize-winning 2017 masterpiece, Kendrick split his persona into contradictions. Fear, Loyalty, Pride, DNA. The album followed a looping structure meant to be played forward or backward. He began using the name Kung Fu Kenny, a nod to martial arts films and inner discipline, no doubt also inspired by RZA and the Wu. He even played a short film called The Damn Legend of Kung Fu Kenny at Coachella during his Damn tour.
You are the one who will bring the glow back.
In Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, he expanded further, playing therapist, victim, abuser, and father. He used voices of his family, merged into piano keys and therapy sessions. He rapped as Whitney. He rapped as his children. He rapped as Eckhart Tolle. He introduced the name Oklama, a self-appointed title used in cryptic messages and tour visuals. The alter egos formed a network of contradictions, each revealing shame, fear, and generational weight. Kendrick didn't drop characters between albums. He let them evolve across projects, appear in live performances, and dissolve in layers of sound and silence. So what do you think? Who has the best alter ego in rap? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching.